This is my first ever video game review in video form, so please be gentle with me. So, Super Robot Wars. For those unfamiliar with the games, it is basically a fusion of tactics, RPG, and visual novel. Think something like Final Fantasy Tactics or Fire Emblem, but instead of controlling things like knights, archers, footmen, here in Super Robot Wars, your units are the pilots and the mechs from the various famous Japanese mecha animes. So you'll see something like characters from Gundam teaming up with characters from Mazinger Z or Code Geass or Evangelion or Macross and so on and so forth. It isn't just a thoughtless mishmash or crossover though. The developers behind this, they write an original story with original characters. Like I said, it's like a visual novel where characters have interactions, characters from different franchises joke around with each other, some story elements are combined perhaps. Something like that. They really do their best to mesh all the series together by creating a coherent central story which uses both the original plot and characters they created, while also using the plot and characters from the anime series that are included in its cast, like I said before, Gundam, Code Geass, Getter Robo, etc., etc. I don't want to dwell too much on the background of the game and its history, because that will take a whole video of its own, so let's move on to the review of this most current released Super Robot Wars, which is Super Robot Wars Y. So, I've been playing through Super Robot Wars Y, the latest installment in the long-running Super Robot Wars series of video games. As of recording, it looks like I've reached the mid-game phase of the campaign, and at this point I think I've spent enough time with the game to give a spoiler-free review. Okay, first let's tackle the things that I didn't like in the game. Number 1. The removal of PP, aka pilot points. So in the previous games, PP was used to upgrade or buy pilot skills or upgrade pilot stats. You get PP the same time as when you score a kill. You get credits, PP, and MXP. Now they folded PP into regular money, aka credits. So what happens is you upgrade your mechs with credits and you upgrade your pilots with credits also. I'm not a fan of this because PP gave you parallel path of upgrade instead of just using credits for everything. For me, the removal of PP subtracted a layer of management or role-playing, which is for the pilots. You'd want a lot of PP as well, aside from credits, because you want to improve your pilots too. And yes, I acknowledge the argument that having too many types of currency or points in an RPG, such as having money, PP, skill points, perks, and the like, having too many of them can be overwhelming and could be too complicated and might not be a good system when taken as a whole. But on the other hand, having too few might also prove to be too simple. So yes, I am not a fan of the removal of PP. Number 2, the removal of the kill counter for pilots for their current mission. So this was one really good feature in Super Robot Wars 30. There is a mission summary that shows how many kills each pilot has had, but even without that, at a glance on the main HUD, you could see how many kills indeed that pilot has had in this mission, because after the total of their kills, there was a number inside a parenthesis. That number was the kills that they have made for this mission, so it was easy to keep track of. Somehow, that feature wasn't retained. Now, I am having a bit of trouble keeping track of kills during missions. Some secret conditions have kill count requirements, and I want to distribute kills to pilots who need them, or even if there are no secret requirements, I wanna bring most of the pilots to ace status eventually. So I want an equitable distribution of kills, and the removal of something which enabled me to keep track of it easily is a bummer. Number 3, the removal of the BGM volume adjuster for custom BGMs. This was another very good feature in Super Robot Wars 30, so you could use your own music to replace the default music of the mechas in case you wanted a different version or totally different song. That was great when they started implementing it a number of games ago. But in Super Robot Wars 30, you could adjust the individual volumes on these custom tracks you bring in. And again, for some reason, they removed it for Super Robot Wars Y. I don't know why they do that, pun intended. But yeah, it made it a bit more difficult because a lot of my MP3s, the volumes are not consistent. So what I had to do was to adjust the individual volumes of the songs with audio editing software so that they would be at the correct volume when they played during the attack animations. Number 4. Some units who were not present during Super Robot Wars 30, meaning they had to probably make new sprites and animations for them. Yeah, a lot of these units have animations that lack impact. You know, they lack a bit of oomph, such as the Heavy Arms Custom, which I'll be playing in the background while I'm talking. The full open attack, aka fire everything attack, it could have used more flair or a pose at the end or more explosions. It lacks something. Same with the Sandrock Custom. So yeah, animations for some units could have been better. Number 5. I wish there were more map types. For space, there isn't much you can do because it's basically flat terrain with just a background. So you just change the background to if you want it to be space colony or debris or wreckage. But for the terrestrial maps, I wish there were more types I encountered during missions. I've already encountered repeats of certain maps 2 or 3 times already. So yeah, I wish there was more variety. With the things I didn't like out of the way, let's move on to what I did like. Number 1, the increased difficulty. So I've been complaining, I don't know if you can call them trilogy because they are unrelated, but I've been complaining since the VTX games, and it's also the same with Super Robot Wars 30. I've been complaining about how easy the games were. Like I always do, I played all those games blind, first run, on hard difficulty, and they were not a challenge whatsoever. Here in Super Robot Wars Y, though, I could feel the increased difficulty. Enemies hit harder, they had higher chances to hit, and they targeted some of the more vulnerable units of mine, which I had observed on multiple occasions. So yeah, this is a step in the right direction, I think. I'm not asking for the tear your hair out in frustration difficulty like in Super Robot Wars 1 to 4 or in F and F Final or Super Robot Wars Advanced, but I also don't want a complete cakewalk. Please give me at least a bit of challenge. So I am satisfied with the difficulty here in Super Robot Wars Y compared to the last few games. Number 2, some characters got new portraits, specifically the Universal Century characters. To save time and money, they could have just reused the UC character portraits from Super Robot Wars 30, but I was pleasantly surprised to see new portraits for Amuro, Char, Emma, Camille, basically the UC characters. And I like the art style that they used for these new portraits as well. Pleasant surprise, like I said. Number 3, new art. So aside from the new portraits for some characters, we actually have new art depicting certain events or scenes. I don't even remember the last time we got something like this. And it's done in a very nice art style, in my opinion, and it was another pleasant surprise. When you get something that shows you something happening visually rather than just having some characters talk about it in the text box, that always adds immersion, and you want to look at something nice when you're playing a visual medium like a video game. Number 4. Touched up animations for returning units from Super Robot Wars 30. Like with the portraits, the devs could have just recycled and reused animations from the older units. And to be fair, most units which came from Super Robot Wars 30 have the same animations. But there are some with redone or retouched or expanded attack animations. Again, this was a pleasant surprise for me because, I've played through so many Super Robot Wars. Like, for example, Alpha 2 and Alpha 3, they basically have the exact same animations for the exact same units. So, Mazin Kaiser in Alpha 2 has the same animations as Mazin Kaiser in Alpha 3. Same with the VTX trio of games, etc., etc. So it was nice to see effort and work directed towards improving some animations. Number 5, the assists system. So in previous games, you already had something similar with the supporter system, but here in Super Robot Wars Y, the supporter system was reworked and expanded into the assists system. So from before, the supporter system, you select a character for support, such as who's present in both games. Chen, I think, was present in both games. So you had a supporter, and they're kind of an extra Seishin, but it's available to all pilots. So the supporter had an active effect and a passive effect, and that's it. And you had a limited number of slots. Here in Super Robot Wars Y, you still have the limited amount of slots. You still have the active and the passive, but you can level up your assist personnel from level 1 to level 4. So at level 1 you have the active effect, level 2 unlocks the passive effect, level 3 upgrades the passive effect, and level 4 upgrades the active effect. These assist personnel level up through having them on the active roster during the mission, and they get more XP when you use them. So it incentivizes proper usage of the assists and leveling them up to level 4. And because at level 4 you also get a bit of a bonus. You get skill programs of various kinds when you level up a assist character. So it gives you an extra layer of party management, which I think is fulfilling and gives enough of a reward to pay attention to, which is why I think it's an improvement over the previous system and I like it. Number 6, the character interactions and humor. As this is a crossover game, you have characters from many different series interacting with each other. And so far, I like the writing. I like what I've seen so far with character interactions. And for the parts where there's humor, I found it funny for the most part. I guess my taste in humor fits this kind of scenario. Like in this certain interaction, a lot of the female members of the crew were curious about the relationship of Hiro and Relina from Gundam Wing. And in the background of this shared universe, Kallen from Code Geass has fought alongside Hiro in the past. So they were asking her, what's the real deal between Hiro and Relina? Kallen was about to spill the tea in modern parlance, but then she noticed Hiro glaring at her, and then she decided not to speak because I guess she didn't want to die. So yeah, those kinds of things I found funny. Now that we're done discussing the pros and cons, the important question remains: should I get this game? The answer is a bit complicated, because I'd have to divide the prospective buyer into a couple of categories. The first category would be a gamer who's not really into anime but likes strategy or tactics games. For this type of a prospective buyer, I would say that you'll probably not enjoy this very much unless you're looking to get into mecha anime in the first place. So it's a decent enough strategy, tactics, RPG/visual novel game, but I don't think someone who's into games like XCOM or Fire Emblem or Battle Brothers might not be satisfied with the kind of gameplay the Super Robot Wars series has. A large part of its appeal are the various IPs that you're able to find inside the game. So if you don't have a connection with the characters and the mecha, I think it'll be hard to get into a Super Robot Wars title. While we're on this train of thought, the second category is someone who is somewhat familiar with anime and the mecha genre in general. So the full cast list of the base game is on the screen right now, and if you're familiar with and like, let's say, maybe half of these, I'd say you can get this game. You'll be able to appreciate it if you know at least half of the cast. Because like I said, for the first category, you need some sort of connection to the IPs to make it feel like it's worth getting into this game. And the last category would be longtime fans, and it's an easy answer for this. I'd say yes, because I've seen a number of improvements from Super Robot Wars 30, and the steps back I listed in the cons aren't enough to put this game into the do not buy territory for me. It remains a niche game inside a niche genre, and it was super obscure for most people outside of Japan because this series of games traditionally only had Japanese releases, and it only started to gain a bit of an additional following due to the more recent releases having official English versions. Now only if Giren's Ambition got the same treatment. But yeah, this title is never gonna be mainstream, especially in the West, and it acts as more of an advertising platform for the series that are included inside of the games. Like, oh look, G Gundam had its 30th anniversary last year, and Gundam Wing has its 30th anniversary this year. Look which two series are in the game! Oh, fancy seeing them here. So yes, in conclusion, this game isn't for everyone. Get this game if you're into the mecha genre or trying to get into the mecha genre. Otherwise, I don't think you'll enjoy it too much. So that is my review of Super Robot Wars Y after about 90 hours of playtime, according to Steam. I hope this gave you an idea about what the game is and if it's for you or not. Thank you very much for watching this video until the end. Please like and subscribe if this review ended up being useful for you. Goodbye for now, and see you next time.